Welcome back to Verdicts in Vogue. This is part 2 of Cristina's conversation with Attorney Erika Contreras. Let's jump back in.
I think we did not get to how you ended up becoming a lawyer.
Yeah, I mean, I think the concept stayed with me for some time. I went to college, and during college, I worked, but I didn't work in the legal industry. I just, did odd jobs to pay for college. But once I graduated college, my first job was at a personal injury firm.
Okay.
And I have to admit, I've been very, very lucky in my employment. I've only had 2 jobs as an attorney. My first job was right out of college. I went to work at Cusman and Whitehill. They did plaintiff's personal injury and plaintiff's med mal. And I worked for Russell Cusman, who was an MD-JD,
Okay.
and Michael Whitehill. And I started as their receptionist. And slowly but surely, they just kept promoting me.
Oh, that's so nice. So, and for those who don't know, MD, JD, medical doctor, as well as a Juris Doctor attorney. So he has a double.
Yeah, he was an emergency room physician for 10 years. And his part of the practice was just plaintiff's medical malpractice.
Did you also do medical malpractice as well?
I worked on his cases, but because he was the MD-JD, like he did a lot of he did most of the heavy lifting.
Right. And so then after that, then you ended going up to the Panish Shea firm.
Right. So while I was at Cusman and Whitehill, I applied to law school, and because I was at Cusman and Whitehill for like 9-10 years.
Oh, wow.
I worked as a paralegal. I went to night school at Loyola Law School. I did the evening program, which is a 4-year program. And then once I graduated, I took the bar, I passed. I came back as an attorney there, and I was there as an attorney for 2 years. And then in December of 2010, the firm wound down because Russell Cusman was appointed to the bench, and I was unemployed. And after a couple months of looking, I had applied to this firm. At the time, it was Panish, Shea, and Boyle.
Okay.
And it was a very young firm. The firm was started in 2005. I didn't know anybody there, but I had sent a cold email and said, look, I'm looking for a job. My firm is winding down. And at that time, I already had 2 kids. So I needed to work. I couldn't stay home. And then I came to Panish, Shea, Ravipudi. And I've been here for 14 years.
Oh, wow. So 2 jobs, and you went from receptionist to attorney. That's amazing. That's an amazing story.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, I went from receptionist to partner at some point.
That's right. That's a great that's a great story. And when you started out at Panish, what were the type of cases that you started with? Because now you have a background in personal injury and doing some med mal, but Panish's firm, they focus on serious injury and catastrophic injury.
Yeah.
So what was your caseload, or what did you focus on?
So when I was first brought on to the Panish firm, I was working mass torts.
Okay.
So that was my very limited scope. We were handling the hip replacement recalls.
Oh, I remember
and so
those.
There was hundreds of cases,
Yeah.
and I was helping with those cases. But I am notorious for taking on too much, and we were talking about this earlier. I'm a doer,
Yeah.
Do you need help with that? I can help you with that.
Of course. Sometimes you volunteer without even realizing you did. You're like,
So-
oh yeah, sure, no.
I started off in the mass torts cases, and then slowly but surely, I started asking people for work. Like, do you need me to help you with that? I can do this for you. And I ended up start moving on to single accident cases, and then I got assigned to a team, and then I got assigned to another team, and then I had my own team, and then I became a partner.
Okay. So talk about doer. You definitely some people are built that way, and that's a gift. So
Yeah.
you have to embrace it. It's a gift, and sometimes it's a curse, but you embrace the gift part of it,
Yeah.
right? And then the curse, you just kind of push on through.
I think the curse is more for the people around us who support us, because they're really, everything that we do, the work is on us, but the support is, we do it with the support of other people. And so sometimes when you say, well, I guess I volunteered for this, they're like, oh, now I got to do something else for you. But it's true.
I am trying my hardest not to look that way because I know that over there's 2 beautiful young ladies who support me in everything that I do. And sometimes when I'm like, oh, we have to do this, or like, when are you going to do that?
Yeah. Yeah. My husband's really great. I mean, I've had so many crazy ideas over the last however many years we've been married. He never says no to me. He just pauses and says, like, how do you want to start with that? Like, how do you want to do this? And so he kind of just punts it back to me to see if I really start thinking about it, is it going to be as hard as I know it is?
Yeah.
Most of the time I just go with it, but I think it's like his way of trying to get me to rationalize what I'm doing.
Well, it's also, I'm sure you come across as the type of person that if someone was to say no, you'd say, oh, well, of course I'm doing it, right? So by punting it back to you, he's going to give you the opportunity to think about it and maybe not do it, right?
Yeah. I mean, when I took the bar, we already had our oldest daughter. She was about 5 months old. And she was born my last semester of law school. And so I needed to go out and take the bar. And the locations were about maybe an hour from my house. So I couldn't stay home with the baby and take the bar. So my plan was, I'm going to go take the bar. My husband's going to take the week off of work. He's going to stay home with the baby, so she's not, moved around.
Mhm.
And I'm going to go and take the bar. And it's better if the baby's not with me because I need to concentrate. But if you're a new mom, and at the time I was still nursing, it just kind of throws you for a loop when the baby's not there. And I couldn't sleep and it was hard. And so I called my husband after the very first day of the bar and I said, I couldn't sleep. I had such a hard time. He said, well, I'll just take the baby. And he stayed with me the whole week there while I took the bar. And I would come back to the hotel room, nurse her, really settle my nerves. Nursing really did help me in that. And then I would walk back to the convention center and take the next session.
Wow. So that's, isn't that funny that you think, I'm like, as you were talking about the nursing situation, so you were nursing in between taking the bar exam.
Mm-hmm.
I remember so I was a late mom. And after the first, after I had my daughter, I was in trial. And during the breaks is when I would have to connect myself to a machine. And then, whatever you do with that contraption, that's torture. But I would have to do that and go home. But I remember that was a way of, like, your body tells you, right? And so it's like, it's an added stress if your child is not there. And I think Eva must have been like 3 months old, or probably around the same. And it was just, it's an experience. So it's for those people who always say, oh, I can't do this, or this is too hard, or, maybe I'm not cut out, or maybe I should wait. What do you say to them based on your experiences?
I mean, I can, I never want to tell somebody, like, if you don't want to do it, you still have to do it.
Yeah.
But I think that sometimes we overthink things rather than just try to do it. I mean, and you can attest to this too. You have a very busy practice and you have children, and somehow you manage to do it all.
Sure.
And you don't think about it. If I sat there and thought about everything that needed to be done with my cases, with my kids, with the house, I mean, I'd drive myself nuts.
Oh, absolutely.
But I just do it, one foot in front of the other.
You just keep swimming. You keep swimming. And it also depends on, so at least my children are very different. So I have two, and they're very different personalities. My daughter is more of she's organized but more passive. And then my son is more outspoken, and him and I, even though he's only 7 years old, we butt heads all the time. And so he is the type of person where you say you shouldn't tell them what to do. But if you tell him what to do, he won't do it. Right. And so I find myself figuring out how to work with his personality. I mean, I fail sometimes. Like yesterday he didn't want to do like I have him do extra homework just to stay caught up. And he didn't want to do it. And so I very calmly said, okay. And I crumpled it up and I went to the trash can and tossed it in the garbage. And he wasn't expecting that from me. Like, no. And he just was like, no, I want the homework. So that's my mom technique that I failed miserably at yesterday.
No, I mean, we were talking about that. Some days you're going to feel like you're not doing a good job.
I know.
But I think as long as you give yourself grace. I think when I was a newer mom, I felt like I had to be good at everything.
Sure.
And I used to drive myself crazy. I remember I was driving because I didn't want to miss anything either. So recitals, appointments, everything. It was me, and I wanted to be there because I think at the time you're trying to overcompensate for the fact that you work.
Yes.
And so I remember driving and I'm thinking, I'm going to give myself a heart attack if I keep going like this.
I know.
And you just have to give yourself grace. I think that does help. Now I'm going to try to make everything, but if I don't make it, it's not the end of the world. It's okay.
It's that added pressure, but it's being a new mom, being a new attorney,
Mm.
being a female attorney, and I think sometimes maybe that's self-inflicted because you feel like you're oftentimes I feel like I'm being underestimated, so I have to step up all the time. And sometimes I realize it's just not even after the fact. I realize, after the stress and after the fact that I showed up doing 10 times more than I needed to, I realized, oh, maybe I didn't need to do that.
Yeah, I was having this conversation with a younger attorney yesterday, and he said, this defense attorney, he's so rude to me, and he's so, this to me. I told him, you know what? Those attorneys, they always end up paying. Because it's just, they're so unlikable. And I've had so many people, first time I meet them, shake their hand, I'm going to file an MSJ, and I win most of these MSJs. Okay, great. File one. Things like that. It's just this posturing that maybe works for other people, but in the end, they always pay because the fact that they feel the need to say those things makes me feel like they are not very secure in their position.
True. That's a very good. That's a very good assessment. And then sometimes they're just jerks. So they're just natural jerks. I have a couple of those. I'm sure you do too. Which is every time you see their name come up on as an opposing counsel, I'm like, here I go again.
Yeah, I think that it's important for people in our profession to really think about your career as a long-term picture.
Absolutely.
And you have to be competent, but you have to be civil. And every time you come up, people are going to remember that you were competent and that you were civil and professional. You never want someone to look at your name and say, like, not this jerk again.
Yeah.
Because typically the people that are jerks are not good lawyers. They're compensating for something else. And so you want to have that reputation of being a competent, a good attorney, but also like someone that is good to work with.
I think that would go with any profession, right? Because you want to be competent in what you do. You also want to be kind, civil, be the kindest person in the room. And that is something that carries through in front of juries, right? Oftentimes juries are looking at everything you're doing, right? Even things that you may not realize that they're checking out. And they see how you treat court staff, and they see how you treat other counsel or your associates and so forth. And it shows a lot. But I think that carries over in all aspects of different professions.
Yeah. And I think that people remember kindness. People remember the good things more than the other stuff. And this business is a lot about relationships.
Absolutely.
It's about extending courtesies, to have courtesies extended to you. You're going to see the same attorneys over and over again. You're going to see the same adjusters over and over again. And so it just helps to have a good rapport.
And reputations spread fast. So if you have a bad reputation, it goes pretty quickly. Same thing if you have a good reputation, it spreads quickly.
Yeah. Even with the clients too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, agreed. And with, you just mentioned about this, even our profession is large, our communities tends to be small, right? And it's about networking, and you're going to work with people. And one of the ways that we ended up meeting, I don't know if you recall this. You do? So in that Nevada Bar Association Women's Caucus, it was their Embrace Your Inner Badass. And you were a speaker at that. And I remember seeing you speak, and you're a phenomenal speaker. And I remember the case. I can't remember the details of the case, but it was a pretty large case that you had, and it resolved. It was a great verdict. And you were talking about how you managed to use it was discovery, I think. The discovery to get the answers. Do you recall what you spoke about at the Embrace Your Inner Badass?
There was a couple of because we were talking about, pushing your case and using these different tactics. And then we talked about sub rosa and how to get sub rosa kicked out.
For those who don't know what sub rosa is, it's when the insurance company sets private investigators on you to see what you're doing, or capture video of you mowing your lawn or doing whatever they're going to try to make as a nefarious thing.
Yeah, and I think it's a very customary practice now to send somebody to you, to follow you around, and maybe take 10 hours of video, but only show 3 hours or 3 minutes of video to try to catch you doing something that they are going to argue is compromising. I think they do that with social media now too.
Sure.
And people don't realize that when someone injures them, they become the suspect. It's like, but I didn't do anything. But it's true. That's just the nature of that insurance industry.
And with the social media, it's one of the initial consultation advisements, right, to clients. Hey, whatever you think is private is not. Whatever you're posting, whether it's innocent, is not. It can be made to look worse. And it's not once you start explaining yourself often, it makes you look like you're the one on trial. Yeah. And that's, I don't know if you've dealt with, I've had some cases go very wrong because of social media.
Yeah. I think that the clients don't realize that we do our best to introduce them as a person to the jury, right? This is who they were before the incident. This is what they loved. This is who loved them. This is what inspired them to get up every morning and do their day-to-day activities. This is how the accident or the collision changed them. This is what their life is like now. And we do our best to have the jury get a complete picture of them. But the jury still doesn't know them. They know what's put in front of them. Mm-hmm. And so even though our clients may say, well, I'm a good person, I'm not cheating, I'm not, faking anything, the jury for sure is going to see that. That's not always true, because as much work as we put into the case to have the jury know you, the defense is putting just as much work to have, your credibility taken away and to make you feel like a faker or a malingerer, someone who's trying to cheat, someone who thinks they won the lottery because, a truck ran the red light and
for a money grab. They always try to make it seem like it's a money grab.
Yes.
Like this is their big payday.
Right. And we all know that, we're lucky that we get to work with honest people who have been seriously injured, and we know them. And by the time the case goes to trial, you're in a special relationship with them. You love them. But the jury doesn't know that. And so we want to keep the case as clean as possible. And so we have that conversation, this picture may be innocent in and of itself, but in the big picture of it, do you really want to lose credibility over this picture?
Or potential.
Yeah.
The potential of losing credibility. Right. Because once what's that saying, where there's smoke, there's fire, right? So people start thinking, and juries oftentimes already come in thinking the worst of plaintiffs' attorneys because they have shows already out there that makes it, it glorifies, right, the plaintiff's lawyer, or vilifies a plaintiff's lawyer, depending how you're looking at it, which show. So that's one of the, any other advice that you could give to an attorney with a young attorney or a seasoned attorney when it comes to managing your cases or maximizing how you present your cases to a jury?
So a couple of things. I think a lot of people, when you have a personal injury case, you need to prove negligence, causation, and damages. So those are the three little elements. Sometimes we focus so much on negligence and liability, we don't look at the damages or the causation. You can lose a trial on causation even if you get negligence. So I think start the damages question, the damages presentation early on
in the trial,
in your case,
in the investigation part.
Yes.
Okay.
Who is your plaintiff? What did they like to do? Make sure you get pre-incident photographs, pre-incident videos of them doing their activities, all of the things that really are going to make them a full person to the jury, and start early. Because you want to get to know your client too.
Of course.
Go to their house, talk to their wives, talk to their kids, talk to their spouse outside of the presence of
their
plaintiff.
spouse.
Well, because sometimes I think when you are hurt, when you have chronic pain, when something terrible has happened to you, you are going to take it out on the person who is closest to you, who's not going to say anything, to you, and who's going to allow you to take it out on them. And they have a very unique perspective, because they may not say it in front of you, but when the plaintiff is outside of the room, they'll say, like, he used to do this, he used to do that, and now he doesn't do that. I can hear him complaining in his sleep at night if he turns, if he sits up to go to the bathroom. I can hear him. He gets up, 6 or 7 times. Plaintiffs don't always remember that, plaintiffs. And men are notoriously bad about expressing their non-economic damages.
And underreporting.
I'm fine. Are you?
Oh, I get that a lot. We get that a lot.
I'm okay.
Well, we oftentimes, if we have a traumatic brain injury client, we try to talk to all their family members, people that they know outside of their presence,
Right.
because oftentimes traumatic brain injury clients underreport their symptoms, or they think they're fine. They don't realize their memory. And then it's not until you speak to their significant other that they're like, oh my God, they left the stove on. They almost burned down the house at one point. I mean, the stories that you get from just talking to these people that know them.
No, I think that's true. And I think if you wait till you're so close to trial, you don't really know. You don't have time to really kind of fully develop their story. And so you want to start early. And a lot of the times we produce the pre-incident photographs. You have to, if you're going to present at a trial. But we start producing them early because we want them to get to know our plaintiff. We want them to know that this is a good person. He's going to present really well in front of the jury. There's 50 things he used to be able to do prior to this collision, and now he can only do 2,
And on the same note, and this is for me, you're going to help me with my case, because I have a situation where the defendant's going to present really bad if they put him up on a stand.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, probably one of the most difficult, evasive, just defendants I've ever run into. And how do you maximize on that gift?
Yeah. So I think in California, we have 776, which is an adverse witness.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can, just by telling the court you're calling someone under evidence code 776, the jury already knows that someone's coming that's,
hostile.
Yeah, hostile. And if they are so hostile, if they are so unlikable, the court is going to instruct them to answer. And so it does kind of help calling them anyway, because call them in your case in chief, call them as a witness, so that you can get that storyline about how unlikable this person is as part of your case.
Sure. So we're actually scheduled to go to mediation. I was doing the mediation memo, and I just took snippets for the mediator to see. And I'm like, please, this is, they'll see. And my report was, I took video, I videotaped my depositions, like I'm sure you do. And I recommend any attorney who has a larger case to videotape the depositions, because it's amazing what a clip of the defendant or a police officer or a witness the effect that they can have on your case. And so I actually had them already pre-cut, sent over to the mediator and so forth, and that'll go up later this month. But yes, and I was like, awful. He's just an awful person.
Yeah, and I think people don't realize that the defendant has to present well too, because it is a battle of credibility, whether it's the credibility of the witnesses, the credibility of the lawyers, the credibility of the plaintiff and the defendant. It is a battle of credibility. And so I've seen defendants where the attorney, you can tell the defendant's not very well prepared, and the attorney doesn't intervene when the defendant starts going sideways. It's kind of interesting to me that they think there's not going to be any repercussions for that.
Sure. And so, preparation is key on both sides, and how you present is key. The other thing we have to keep in mind when we're having a case in front of a jury, although we are in this world of how to present things or how to ask questions or maybe how to present evidence, juries really, at the end of the day, they're human beings, right? They're a jury of our peers, and they're really going on to who do they believe more, who do they like more.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. I was taught a long time ago that by a seasoned attorney that said, if you don't like your client, do not put them on the stand.
Yeah.
Because you will lose.
And I think there is this belief and this just common sense tactic that no matter what, sometimes, when you have a case that goes on for a long time, there can be disagreements with the client. There can be maybe disagreements about tactic or disagreements about what evidence is going to come in. But at the end of the day, when you're in front of the jury and you've committed now to try this case, he is your number one person. You are behind him 100%, because sometimes the jury can pick up on it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's that's why if you don't like them, the jury's not going to like them. So moving on to, I want to just talk about mentorship and giving back. I know you're big on that. So am I. So these days, what are you doing to give back to your community?
I mean, I think all communities have like these associations for students or aspiring lawyers, or, maybe it's already for lawyers that have been out, but they want to connect with other people in the community. So I am a member of as many bar associations as I could possibly be, but I am on the board of the Latino Lawyers Bar Association.
The Latina
Lawyers Bar Association.
Latina Lawyers Bar Association.
It's the only bar association that is exclusively for Latina women in the law.
Is that nationwide or is that in California?
So we have members throughout the United States, okay. But right now all our events are predominantly in California, Northern and Southern California, but we are trying to expand because the need is there.
Sure.
When I first started with the bar association, Latinas were only 2%. Mm-hmm. We're 3%. So now we're up
1%. And that,
but isn't that, I mean,
that's a big deal. I mean 1%. It's been 2 for a long time now. I mean, when I started my firm, and I think I've said this before, the Perez, I looked at the name. I was like, Perez Law Group, right? I wanted to have it for my parents' name, Perez. Mm-hmm. And before me was Perez Lawn Care and Perez Automotive. Today, there is, I think, 5 Perez legal entities, right? So that's 15 years. In 15 years, we went from 1 to I think 5 now. And I know one was Alejandro Perez, who is not related, my sister, my brother, and then myself, and then another attorney out of California. Oh. But that's 5. That's great.
So you have 3 of the 5? No, but it is good. I mean, there is a large population is Hispanic, and pretty much any state,
Sure.
It's a big demographic. It does not translate into the law, which is very interesting to me. As I was a younger attorney, I was the only woman. And even if there was more women, I was the only Hispanic. And so a lot of the times I still get, are you the paralegal or are you the translator?
Isn't that funny? I do too. It just happens.
It's like I'm wearing a suit and I am sitting in the noticing attorney's seat, like, but fine. It's just interesting. It's getting better, but it still doesn't translate. Even in the courtroom, you don't see a lot of Latina or Latino trial attorneys.
No,
there's that disconnect, which is strange because in California, Hispanics are a big portion of our plaintiffs, and so it's nice for the clients to be able to talk to their attorney in their native tongue.
Absolutely,
you don't have to have somebody translate for you. There's also this cultural translation that happens that we don't need because we understand maybe not how all Hispanic families are, but we understand the dynamics in a Latino family. And that helps us present the case. It also helps us to really be able to advocate for our clients.
And understand the nuances, right? Because at least from my experience, Latino clients are not running to the doctor. They don't have a primary care physician. They tend to go to the urgent care when they get hurt or the hospital emergency room. And so that is not the typical way a case is presented when you're dealing with an American client, right? And so I don't know if you've noticed that same type of situation going on with your clients, but I tend to talk to them early and say, if something, you can't minimize it. If something hurts, please go get it. I'm not a doctor, but I can tell you that if this is your only time to make a claim for yourself, you want to make sure you advocate for yourself.
Yeah. And I think sometimes they don't understand that a lot of the times they don't want to take time off work.
That's another one, a big one.
Yes. But, they're like, well, I don't get paid if I don't go to work. Totally understand that. The problem is if you're not going to the doctor and they're not really looking at your injuries and you're not doing the follow-ups, you're not going to get the adequate money for your injury either. So
Okay.
you have to sort of balance and make sure that you obviously want to go to work, but you need to get the right treatment.
Absolutely.
And I think too, in a lot of cultures, and not just a Hispanic culture, but in a lot of different cultures, going to work is a very big part of their life.
Yes.
Not just economic, but it really is a big part of how they feel about themselves. Sometimes men more than women, but it's that feeling of I'm a provider. I can provide. I go out. I feel useful. And being able to do that brings me joy. And not being able to do that really, really causes me emotional distress. Not in those terms, but
Sure.
it really affects the way that they see life, that they see themselves.
Yeah. Well, it affects their identity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so being able to translate that for the jury, this is how he values himself, is really helpful. I think it really does help bringing in those verdicts that reflect what the loss is.
And I know that with verdicts, we've talked about this when we started, that you've had some notable, huge verdicts. And I know that's something to be extremely proud of. Did you, looking back when you first started, did you think that, hey, one day I'm going to be having 7-8 figure verdicts just in your career?
No, I think when I first started, I just slowly started working into the single plaintiff cases. And when we first started doing trials, I would help with the trials. And then slowly, you would get a witness, and then you would get an expert, and then your involvement grew. I think just as I continued to work, it just became sort of I expected it of myself. Everybody else was getting these big numbers. Everybody else was getting these massive settlements, these massive cases. I should be doing the same. And I think that's the wonderful thing about sort of the drive that you provide for yourself. It's not I can't, but it's like, if they can, I can.
Sure.
So it wasn't so much as I'm going to do that one day. It's just of course, everybody else is doing it.
You expect it of yourself. You're like, well, why can't I?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's important. I think that's important just in general, in any career, right? Just to expect it of yourself.
Sure. You set your own expectations.
Yeah.
And that's how you meet them. Oh, well, tell me, we've talked about receptionist Erika, mom Erika, law school Erika, partner Erika, well, attorney and then partner Erika. So where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
I really see myself still working the same kind of cases that I'm working now.
Which are, your focus right now is what type of cases?
I do all kinds of personal injury cases. I do a lot of workers' comp PI crossover cases, construction accidents, oil drilling accidents. I mean, all kinds of really, personal injury is a very wide gamut.
Sure.
I also do trucking cases, just regular car accident cases, premises cases. So really pretty much any personal injury case. There's certain cases that I like more than others.
Okay.
Because I think they have little nuances that I really enjoy, but I still see myself doing that. I would like to be out more, doing more speaking engagements, and really just speaking to students and speaking to young attorneys. I think that is where you invest into the future of this industry. I do a lot of going out to elementary schools and junior highs now.
Oh, nice.
And I get to speak to inner city kids and tell them, like, these are all the different careers out there, and these are the possibilities are endless for you. And I like doing that because I do think that is a good contribution to the community.
Sure.
I hope to be able to do that more. Sometimes we get busy and it doesn't always coincide with your schedule. I try to mentor a lot of people, individually. Now with social media, people can reach out to you directly and ask you questions. And so I'm very open to that. I'll have Zooms with people. I'll have coffee with people if I can. It's hard when you've never done something and you don't know anybody to guide you. I think you and I were there, at some point in our careers.
Well,
where we were looking around and we didn't know any lawyers and we didn't really know what we were doing or what was the right thing to do. And for me early on, there wasn't really a lot of people that I could ask. I wasn't comfortable asking to because I didn't want people to think I didn't know.
And I think, at least for me, there was a lot of people that didn't look like me. People were willing to help, but there was always a little bit of I don't know how to say, a disconnect, because even though you're the same, you're different.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how I felt starting. So I oftentimes didn't ask for help. I mean, I stand on the shoulders of my predecessors who lifted me up. So I try to give back too.
Yeah, no, and I think that's important. So I hope to be doing a lot more of that. Every year I have this intention that I'm going to spend more time doing it. And then I get wrapped up in the year and, next thing you know, it's October and the year's done and you didn't do as much. That was one of the reasons why I joined the Latino Lawyers Bar Association, is because I'm committed to that cause. I'm committed to every day or every month at least doing something that really helps promote and support Latinas in every stage of their career.
I love that.
Not just practicing attorneys, but aspiring attorneys, law students, people who just started. You should come to one of our events. Our events are a lot of fun.
And are you going to have one in Arizona, or am I going to fly out to California?
Maybe we can co-host one.
Okay. Look at that. We're already signed. See how we already signed up to do something extra that we didn't plan to? You get that, girls? They'll help coordinate. I would love to. Well, so here is, and I didn't tell you this. I kind of gave you a general of what we do. Mm-hmm. The ending part of the podcast is like a lightning round question type round, where I ask simple questions, and you give your best answer. Okay. Gives a chance to know about you.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay. Here we go. What was your childhood nickname growing up?
I didn't have one.
No. Also didn't have a middle name.
It's true.
What's your most main character moment?
My main character moment. I received a Luminaria Award from the Latino Lawyers Bar Association. And that whole day, I felt like a princess. And I loved it.
What's one word that best describes you?
Efficient.
Why?
I like problems and I like to fix problems. So I'm very good about doing things and time management and problem solving.
Okay. If you could switch careers tomorrow, what would you do?
ER doctor.
What's one thing you want to be remembered for?
I think I want to be remembered for being inspirational.
What's the most fun you've ever had that cost nothing?
We had, during the heat wave, our electricity went out. And so we didn't have any electronics. And we spent all afternoon in the backyard with the kids. And to this day, we still talk about it.
I love that. You should cut the electricity off to recreate that. What's your go-to dance move?
I have 2 left feet. I'm a terrible dancer. I'm like one of the few Hispanics who just can't do it.
What's one thing you wish people would stop asking you?
If I'm the interpreter.
Fair. What's the biggest risk you've ever taken that paid off?
My legal career.
What's your karaoke go-to song?
Something by The Police. I like The Police.
And last question. If you could time travel to witness any event in history or meet any person in history, what would it be?
I think I would like to meet my mom when she was young.
Really?
Yeah. My mom, she's 73 now. She's awesome. But I remember when I was little, she was such a force to be reckoned with. And I can only imagine how powerful she must have been, when she was in her 20s or something, just fearless and unstoppable. And I would have loved to seen her in her prime. Not that she wasn't in her prime, but I think by the time, she had kids and got married and it was not, it was not the same. And I would have loved to, because this is a woman who came here when she was 16 or 17, didn't know anybody, came with no money. She came with a borrowed sweater, and she walked across the border the first time because she didn't know she had heard people came north and she needed work, and she came north, and she just landed in a country where she didn't speak the language. She says she didn't even understand the money. She came with money, but it was pesos, and she didn't know how to function, and nobody would explain it to her. And so she said the first week I couldn't eat because I didn't know how to buy stuff, and people were not kind and they would not help me, but she still did it. She had 4 kids. She married. She bought a house. She helped us pay for school. Whenever we turned of driving age, she got us driving lessons, and she bought us a car, or she helped us buy a car. When we were all married, she helped us give a down payment to our home. Like, she was just very driven. She didn't have much of an education, but I can just imagine like how she must have been in her 20s, or, before life happened to her. But I'm sure she would have been inspirational. I wish I had seen her back.
She sounds inspirational now. That's a fantastic answer. And I'm sure she's extremely proud of her daughter.
Yeah, she is. I think she doesn't really understand what I do still. She'll like refer me immigration clients, and I'm like, Mom, I don't do immigration, but I can find somebody for you.
I think that's just part of it. Where just call Cristina.
She's like, just call. My dad didn't want me to go to college.
Really?
I went to college against his will. But I think it just had to do with culturally, he wanted me to be married and happy and have kids. And so when I told him I was going to go to college, he goes, "Why, mija? You're going to get married in a couple of years. You're going to have kids, and you're just wasting time." And I did it anyway. And he was so proud of me after, but it was just like this. I think for him, family was so important, and he wanted me to have a family. I don't think he comprehended that I could do both.
Yeah. And I think it's part of the culture where as soon as you have, like the female, as soon as you have kids, you stop your career, right? You stop what you're doing. So they think that that's like the end game for everyone. So.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think it's he shifted though. When we were growing up, he was very macho. The girls, we did all the house cleaning. We had one brother, and he did not do anything.
That's in everywhere. Mine too.
We washed his clothes. We ironed his clothes. Like, he was very macho. He did not do anything around the house.
I think my mom irons my brother's clothes to this day, if he's home.
But as we got older, he shifted. He just kind of grew with us and learned with us. And he went to my law school graduation. He went when I was sworn in. He was so proud of me. He's passed on now. But he was so proud. And to go from don't go to college to that's my daughter, it was pretty amazing.
That's amazing. Yeah. I'm glad that he was able to see that. Yeah. And I'm just glad that he changed his perspective on things. Did he ever say to you, "I'm glad that you went to college"? Or
no, like he's not I was wrong kind of guy. He wasn't that kind of a guy.
Well, I really appreciate you coming here and speaking with me today. And for everyone who's listening, thank you so much. And anytime you want to come back and anytime you want to have a Zoom with me and talk to me, even if the cameras aren't on, please call me.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you having me. I really do.
Well, cheers.
Cheers.